USTEC 100, another interesting asset, which we also had the privilege of scooping in some significant amount of profit from last week's trading setup as we rode the bearish momentum all the way to the downside here. And then we also capitalized on some buying opportunities around that 15,900, which was actually our key level for last week. And it appears that that same level will be our key level for this week. And in fact, we shall be diving right into the higher time frame. And for those of you who missed out on our earlier sessions, you will get to have a privilege of understanding what led to the decisions we made. So our analysis on the USTEC 100 started on the 4 hours time frame, and in fact right here on the 4 hours time frame, what we did last week was to take into consideration the nature of price action in the last 7 to 8 weeks. And what we found here was quite interesting. It was very obvious that price action has been very bullish, and to emphasize the bullish momentum, we had a couple of ascending trend lines after connecting the series of high and lows. So we have the first one here, which is the major ascending trend line, which of course has been supporting that bullish momentum, though we had a breakdown around this area during the last week of October. But as you will see here, price action climbed back above the ascending trend line, and since price climbed above the ascending trend line, it has remained above that structure in the last 3 to 4 weeks, giving us a situation where bullish opportunity is what we want to be looking out for. Then another trend line here, which I will be considering a temporary one, as you will see, the lighted pixel trend line we have here is the other one. So everything is still screaming very bullish at this point in time, but it appears that we begin to notice some reduction in the bullish traction during the later part of last week's trading session. So let's look at what is really going on here. So when we zoom into the current structure, looking at what has been going on here in the last 3 weeks, you will see that our price action has been caught within a range. As you will see, price action has tested a new high at the 16,100, and in fact since then we have seen a situation where price has been confined within the range of the 16,100 and the 15,900 area, which happens to be the support line of that range. Now look at the 15,900 area. Look at how it had played a major role in determining the direction of price action in the last 3 to 4 weeks. Now if you look at the month of November, I think November 15 thereabout, we saw how this level was serving as a selling niche at some point. And as soon as price action broke out of that level with an engulfing bullish candle, since then price action had remained above that structure. And what this tells us is that despite the fact that sellers were trying to push price to the downside, they met a lot of stiff resistance from the buyers around the 15,900. And in fact, last week's trading session, we saw selling momentum break through, but it never lasted long as sellers were unable to settle below the 15,900. And as you will see, price action appears to be gradually approaching that structure one more time. Then another thing that makes this level very interesting is that it also shares a confluence with both of the ascending trend line we spotted earlier. As you will see here, look at the first one right here, lines up with the 15,900, and look at this one too as well, lines up with the 15,900. So we are at a very crucial juncture, an area which has been known for buying pressure, and for the fact that price action still sits above the ascending trend line, we have no other choice than to continue to look out for patterns and structures that supports the idea of buying this asset. Now, another thing I would like to call our attention to right here on Friday was this engulfing bullish candle, which further emphasized that buyers are still very strong around this area. Now, the question going into the new week is, Following the impulsive move we saw here, are we going through a retracement of that impulse leg? Maybe price will retrace back into the trend line to continue the uptrend continuation that may probably break out of that high at the 16,100. That is one scenario we are going to be looking at when we scale down to the lower time frame. Or are we going to be having a situation where price will be breaking down both the ascending trend line and that key level at the 15,900 area? Now, if price will break down the ascending trend line here, this will be the first time price will be breaking down that structure in the last 7 to 8 weeks, and that's going to be a significant signal that we may likely be going to the downside. Now, remember how we use our key level in this community. As long as price remains above our key level, we look out for buying opportunities, and if price remains below our key level, we look out for selling opportunities. So this level at the 15,900 will be guiding our decisions for this trading week. Now, with the crucial juncture we have right now, let's scale down into the lower time frame so we can see our participant in this market has been reacting to this current market structure. Now, scaling down into the 1 hour time frame, we begin to see things more clearly. Now, what I saw here on the 1 hour time frame while trying to dissect the current market structure was quite interesting. But first of all, remember the key level at the 15,900 still remains very intact, and price still remains above that key level, which of course will make us want to still consider buying this asset. Now, besides the key level is the fact that price action has been confined within a range for the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours of this week, as you will see, between the 15,995 level and the 15,932 area. And look at what happened as soon as price got into the support line here. We saw some buy pressure resume here. We saw buy pressure around this area. Then we saw a little bit of breakdown, but that was followed immediately by an engulfing bullish candle. And afterwards, the next candle here is revealing some sort of buy pressure, closing in the form of an hammer candle, which further still emphasize that buyers may still likely be in this particular market. Now, of course, you know how we use our flat channel. Whenever we identify them on the chart, we want to exercise patience and wait for price to either break out of the resistance line to give us an opportunity to buy, or break down of the support line to give us an opportunity to sell. Now, but with the case scenario we have here, prices above our key level, the 15,900, and like I showed you on the higher time frame, we have seen how this level had played a major role in pushing price to the upside. Now, for me, it makes quite a lot of sense to continue to look out for buying opportunities above this zone. Now, in that regard, I'm having a buy stop order sitting above the 15,995 level. If price will break out of that structure, I'm of the opinion that this may incite some new bullish opportunities in this market. However, if we are privileged of seeing something like a series of higher highs and higher lows within this range, we may probably join the bullish momentum earlier than the breakout of that resistance line to maximize the potential of that bullish move. So on the USTEC 100 for today's trading session, I'm holding on to a bullish bias, and in fact we have an ascending trend line that we can be using to guide our decisions for today. So if we connect the series of higher lows since last week Friday, you will see we have something like this. So I would like to thicken this a little bit to emphasize its importance. So I will just give this a much more thicker trend line so it makes things visible enough for us to see and emphasize its importance at this current juncture. So you can see what we have here. Price respected this level last week Thursday. We saw the same thing happen here on Friday, and this morning we begin to notice some buy pressure around this area. So what this simply means is that as long as price action remains above this ascending trend line, we shall feel comfortable in a buy position. And of course, this can also help us to place our stop losses accordingly, as you do want to have your stop loss way below the ascending trend line, giving enough breathing space for price action to move around. So on this one today, we are looking out for buying opportunities on the USTEC 100. However, in as much as we are looking out for buying opportunities, you know how we do it in this community. We also want to keep tabs with the potentials of the sellers as well. Now, sometimes we plan for a particular direction and all of a sudden the market does the opposite of what we do. Now, in this case scenario, we want to be having a balanced bias to whatever decisions we are making. So if sellers will come in at this juncture, we also want to be on standby to capitalize on that move. Now, if we are going to be selling, what is it that we want to see on this chart that will make us feel comfortable selling the USTEC 100? If you would ask me, I would rather want to see price action break down the key level at a 15,900, and in fact I would need some confirmations to happen, like a retest of structure and continue selling pressure below the structure, which will further emphasize that buyers are finding it difficult to climb back above the key level to now give me an opportunity to join the decline to the downside. However, since we have an ascending trend line here, which has been supporting the bullish momentum since last week Thursday, let's see if the price will break down the structure. Now, if it breaks down the ascending trend line, which interestingly shares a beautiful confluence with the support line of that range at the 15,932 level, we might be looking out for selling opportunity only after the retest of the structure happens, which will confirm that truly sellers may likely want to be dictating the pace for today's trading session. So this is my view here on selling the exit and the USTEC 100 today. And if we are buying, I'm looking at buying above the 15,995 area. However, if we do see some series of higher lows and higher highs within this range on our lower time frame, we could be part of an uptrend move before the breakout of the 15,995 level happens. So this is my simple view on the USTEC 100 for today. So you do want to be marking out these levels on your chart, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide your independent trading decisions for today's trading session. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to let me know in the comment section.